I just want to first thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it, and I'm
Thank
excited.
you. Thank y'all for having me.
Of course. Let's briefly recap your championship run in Nevada. So you did manage to clinch it early. Just take me through the emotions of that day. Obviously, you knew you had the potential, to clinch it early. So just kind of tell me what was going through your head that day and what your reaction was when you saw that win light.
So we knew that we had the potential to clinch in Vegas, coming off of the win in Dallas. And obviously that was our goal heading there, but we knew that it was obviously a tall order. So, qualifying went pretty well there. We were able to secure the number one position during the last session. And then as fate would have it, like Aaron Stanfield was on another side of the ladder. So it was very interesting. So it was like, if he won, I needed to win and go back and forth. So I think he was eliminated second round. And in order to clinch, I had to beat Kyle Koretsky in the semifinals. And obviously we were able to do that, but just like kind of a huge weight off of our shoulders. But being, the competitors and perfectionists that we are, we obviously wanted to go on and win that race and then go to Pomona and win that race as well. So it's kind of just an epic year. I'm not too fond of that word, but I don't really have another word to describe our season. It was a career best year for me. We topped 9 victories that I had in one season in 2015, but that was back when there were 24 events a year. So only having 19 now is obviously a better win percentage and just an unbelievable season. So I'm really proud of the scorecard that we turned in.
Have you finally been able to put down, you always joke you have a family size bottle of Tums that you carry around. Have you kind of finally been able to just settle down and like soak it all in? Like, how long did it kind of take for that Drive for 5 accomplishment to settle in?
Well, honestly, it didn't go away. I thought that we would arrive in Pomona, which is our final race of the year, and it would just kind of be like a breath of fresh air. And but the pressure and the tension was still there, obviously, because we still wanted to win that event. So it didn't necessarily go away, but now that the off season has rolled in, the pressure has obviously eased up a little bit, but it'll begin again in March when we start our season and hopefully gun for our 6th championship. We got to come up with something that rhymes with 6 because Drive for 5 was pretty awesome. So we have a lot of great things in the works here at Elite Motorsports for 2023 and beyond, and just excited to be a part of it.
And again, now that you just had a little time to like think about things, looking back at this season and at that accomplishment, what stands out to you the most?
Gosh. So the beginning of the year on New Year's, I always sit down with my family and we write out our goals. Like we literally write them down on paper because my dad has always preached to us that setting goals is important. If you don't set them, you're less likely to accomplish them. So we sit down and we divide our life into 7 areas and we write down our goals. Obviously, racing is the most significant part of my life for this time. And this year, I wanted to win at the tracks that I haven't won at yet. We were able to do that at the Winter Nationals in Pomona. We started the season off on the right foot and were able to secure the 900th Pro Stock win there at Pomona. We went on to win in Sonoma, California, which for 18 seasons, that win has somehow evaded us. And then starting the countdown off on the right foot, it started off in Reading, Pennsylvania, and we were able to win there. And, honestly, going to Reading and having the countdown start off there, it is a track that has not been good to me in the past. And last year, in 2021, was the first year that we had ever been past the second round, I think. So I just was like, dear God, please let us just get to the semifinals. If we can get to the semifinals, we can salvage the countdown and get through it. But we were able to go to the finals there last year. We runnered up to Greg Anderson. And then this year we were able to secure a victory in Reading against my teammate, Troy Coughlin. So I know that's a long answer to your question, but being able to win at those 3 tracks that I hadn't won at before was pretty significant. And then I think the cherry on top for me was being able to win in my hometown of Houston, Texas for the final national event that they held there last year. So we won't be returning there in 2023, which is kind of sad to me because it's where I made my first passes behind the wheel of a junior dragster 31 years ago. So it holds a lot of really fond memories for me, and it's sad to see it go, but we were able to secure a victory there as well. So lots of positives for sure.
So Is there anything left for next year that you feel like you haven't accomplished yet in your career? You know, like you said, this year you wanted to win at the tracks that you haven't yet. So next year, I mean, what are those? Have you talked about those goals yet? Do you not know what they are, or do you already have things in mind?
I definitely have a few in mind. Obviously, every year the goal is to win the world championship, but the competition is stout. Again, a super tall order, but that's always at the top of our list. I've never won at Denver, so that'll be definitely on our goal sheet this year. Pro Stock is not going to be racing at Sonoma, Seattle, or Epping, New Hampshire. So we'll get to head back to Chicago. We'll get to head back to Brainerd, which is really exciting. So Denver will be on the list. World Championship will be on the list, and this year another really cool thing that happened to us is we joined a list that just previously had two drivers on it, Greg Anderson and Daryl Alderman, for double-digit wins in one season. So now in Pro Stock, it's just Greg, Daryl, and myself. So that was a really cool accomplishment too. So I feel like the sky is the limit. I definitely, we will not get complacent in our goal setting and going after it. But you know, I'm excited to see what's to come.
You talked a lot this year about the fashion in which you lost the championship last year and how much that fueled you. So can you expand just a little bit on that and then talk about the mental shift of when you end the year as the champion, how you like keep that momentum going for the next year?
Yeah, so I definitely talked about the fashion in which we lost the championship in last year a bunch. We battled it out with Greg Anderson, who has been our crazy competitor for the last decade here at Elite Motorsports, and he is obviously the cream of the crop in Pro Stock, and he's been around for a long time and secured his 100th victory this year. So he is him and I have always battled it out, and I had said at the beginning of my career to be the best, you have to beat the best, and my first win came against him. So it's kind of been just like a really unique relationship for Greg and I. Well, last year, Greg had a absolutely dominant race car. He had us covered by a couple of hundreds, and that gave my engine shop the extra boost that they needed to go back and go to work and find the horsepower that we needed. But it also gave me the motivation in the cockpit. When you're behind elapsed time-wise, when you're behind performance-wise, you have to rise to the occasion as a driver. And, you know, that's definitely something that we had to do last year, but that I really, really wanted to do this year. So a combination of the guys going to work in the engine shop and me trying to better myself behind the wheel of the race car, I think that's what gave us the kind of awesome season that we had this year. We just had a fire lit under our butts, and we wanted to go out and show the world what we were capable of, because even though Greg had that dominant car last year, it still came down to the wire in Pomona in the semifinals. He and I had to race each other. We shook and we lost, and he went on to win the championship. But, you know, had we had a dominant car like that, I feel like we could have locked it up sooner. I'm not being mean to Greg. I just the way that we lost is what lit that fire underneath us. So I think that's why we had such a great year this year.
And at the awards banquet, you mentioned your crew chief, Mark Ingersoll, and you said that he wants to win just as badly as you do. And can you just talk about your relationship and how instrumental he was in making this year happen and making those changes that allowed you to get the championship?
Yeah, Mark is exactly what I've wished for my entire career in a crew chief position, and I've been blessed to have him and Rick Jones in my corner for the last decade here at Elite. So Mark is a tremendous man. He is super knowledgeable. He is the son of Buddy Ingersoll, who left a huge footprint on our sport. We lost him a few years ago, but he was a diehard racer as well and super knowledgeable. And he passed that along to Mark and instilled such tremendous work ethic in Mark. And to be able to have him in my corner, Mark doesn't say a whole lot. Like when he first came on as my crew chief, being a female, and you have to handle me a little different. Like, why aren't you talking to me? Like, what's going on? So I had to teach him how to talk to me on the radio and whatnot. But him and I have really hit it off, and we found our sweet spot. But I did mention that in my speech, saying that I didn't think another person existed that wants to win as much as I do, and I found him in Mark Ingersoll, and he is just he's a go-getter. He always wants to be better. Again, I'll use the word perfectionist. He's that same way up in the crew chief lounge, trying to set up our race cars the best that he can, and he never rests. He's always digging deep, even when he's at home with his family, like going over data, going over runs, trying to figure out how to make us better and stronger. So I think he's a huge asset to our team. Obviously, there's my team owner, Richard Freeman, has always said there's not one person that's more important than the next, whether it's a tire changer, a driver, a crew chief, a truck driver, whatever. And we all, we just have this really natural team chemistry, and it's something that you can't buy. So I feel like that's why it's so coveted, and we're really blessed to have it. But Mark is the man, and I'm lucky that he's mine.
Was there ever a point this season where you were nervous, I mean, obviously you were nervous on every race weekend, but just where you thought maybe this year wasn't your year? I know you were super dominant, but there had to be some times where you were maybe questioning like what would happen. Was there a time like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We joke about it that there are some Sunday mornings when I don't think I can tie my shoes properly, let alone drive at a world championship level. And my sister and my father have been really instrumental in the mental side of it with me. I joke and say my sister's the ultimate hype girl, but she is, and she believes in me when I don't believe in myself. So I'd say that the mental side of this game is way more intense than the physical side or even the business side of it. So making sure that I'm in the right headspace and visualizing what I want and believing what I want. It takes a team of people to make that happen. So yes, there were definitely days when when the odds were stacked against us. And I mentioned it in one of my interviews earlier in the year that it's those days that you have to believe, you have to have faith and not have fear. And it's like the Bible story with David and Goliath. You're going up against these monsters, and on paper you're not supposed to have any chance of winning, but somehow you go out and you battle it and you end up on top. So that's what having this team is all about. And them believing in me and me believing in them, and we carry each other when the other side is weak, and somehow we managed to do it. So yes, there are days like that, and it's because of them that we're able to come out on top.
I want to take a quick look just at your history in this class. So you debuted in 2005, and you got your first race win in 2012, first title in 2014. You've gotten 4 since then. So since that first year, that first race in 2005, has your sentiment toward racing changed at all, or do you feel you're still the same person?
A little bit of both. I feel I'm the same person, but I feel like I've grown tremendously. I've learned a lot. Thick skin was something that I did not have naturally. I had to acquire it, and that's probably been the most challenging part is dealing with the naysayers and the negative attitudes towards the female aspect of it, which I no longer even take into consideration. I don't have time to listen to it, but I feel like we've proven ourselves over and over and over again. But being the only girl in pro stock for the last 18 years definitely came with a huge learning curve, and I've become a much stronger and tougher person, but I've become a better driver because of it. So I'm definitely thankful for all those things, but I have evolved from 2005 when, I was so shy. I'd make my little sister go ask for ketchup at McDonald's and you really have to come out of your shell and, to be able to do interviews and have the fan access that we have at the pits, which is super unique with NHRA drag racing. So we've definitely come a long way, but I still feel like there's a long way for me to go, and each year I try to better myself. But next year we'll be starting our 19th season in pro stock, and my 10th year here at Elite, which is just awesome. So starting my career out, just to go back a little bit, those first 7 years were winless, and there were a lot of issues with finding the sponsorship dollars that were necessary to go racing. And you just get your butt stomped on the racetrack and in the boardroom and in your office. And it's just one of those kind of dig deep, you can't quit. You just have to keep going, that perseverance aspect of it. So that part was definitely challenging, but learning how to position yourself with the right people, I feel like that's probably the most important part. People are the most important part of the puzzle, and that's something that I have here, and why I'm able to drive the way I am, because I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to worry about a crew chief trying to snake my ride, or that my car is not prepared safely. Like, I have everything I need here, and I'm super thankful for that. So again, sky's the limit with this group, and we'll just see how it goes.
And then one of my final questions is, how would you say this championship differs from the other ones that you've gotten?
I think this one differs from it. Like it still feels the same as the first one. The nerves are the same. We talked about the tums and the stomach aches, and just like trying to put all of that behind you to get in the car and be able to welcome the pressure and thrive underneath it instead of being afraid of it. So those are more things that I learned throughout the years. But this championship stands out because I feel like it sets us apart from the rest, and not in a negative connotation, just that, we join Greg Anderson and Jeg Coughlin in the 5 championship club. And the only people that have more than us in pro stock are Warren Johnson, the professor, he has 6. And then of course the legend Bob Glidden, who was a dear friend of mine, he has 10. So to be, even have my name mentioned alongside of those guys is pretty significant. So I feel like this championship, elevated us as a team and me as a driver. And it's really exciting. And the Shirley Muldowney, she has 3, Angel has 3. And then Brittany Force just secured her 2nd world championship. So the female club is very small, and we're on top leading by 2 championships. So I think it's just a really cool position to be in. And it meant the world to me to secure our 5th.
You said that you don't know if you'll get the 100 wins that Greg Anderson, has gotten, if you'll reach that point. But like you said, you're still invigorated to chase the championships. What do you foresee as the reason for your retirement, or why you would eventually stop racing?
The only reason I would ever stop racing would be to have a family. And that's kind of the one downside of being a female out there, is you have to take a year off for all of that. But that would be the only reason that I'd step aside. And I don't ever think that I would necessarily say I'm retiring. I think I would say I'll step away from professional drag racing for a little while and work on my personal life. So that would be the only reason that I would step away. But I feel like we have accomplished quite a bit here together at Elite Motorsports. As you mentioned at the beginning, we have 43 wins and 5 world championships, and Greg has 5 world championships and 100 wins. So I think it says what we've done in a short period of time to be able to be mentioned on the same level as him, and he still has 50 plus more wins than I do. So we're definitely going to go for it. But I joked in the championship speech that I have no plans of trying to secure 100 wins. That would be a lot more to go. But either way, we'll attack each year as it comes and just do the absolute best that we can and let God do the rest. So it's a blessing to be able to do what I love for a living, and obviously with people that I love very much.
And then just last question, what are you most looking forward to next year?
Well, we have a lot of really great things in the works next year. At Pomona, we announced a sponsorship with JHG, who is Jason Johnson, Johnson's Car Garage. He's the primary sponsor on Bo Butner, my teammate's car, and he wanted to be on our car as well. So he will be the primary on my Chevy Camaro next year. We still are going to be associated with Melling Performance, Gallagher, People Lease, C-Tech Manufacturing, CHE. There's a whole bunch of people that are on board, and next week at PRI we're announcing another addition to our program, which is super exciting for me. But to finally, like I mentioned earlier, those first 7 years were winless. To finally be at a point in our career where people are calling and saying, hey, what can I do to be on your car, instead of me cold calling people and getting hung up on, the tides have turned, and I know that it can disappear so very quickly. So we're just kind of try to capitalize on that as long as we can. But to have those partners, and in addition to JHG, Melling, Gallagher, People Lease, those guys have been extremely loyal to me, and we've secured 3 of our 5 world championships with them as partners. So to have those long-term relationships is unique in racing, as you know, and it definitely means a whole lot. So, and then on top of that, we have 7 cars now. We're adding another car next year with a gentleman from Oklahoma that's going to be driving Pro Stock for the first time ever. So that's exciting as well. So just seeing our class grow and having such a sparked interest in Pro Stock, whereas before it seemed like it was unattainable or something that you couldn't do as an outsider looking in. We've made it that way with Elite Motorsports and the help of our competitors, KB, just getting more competitors out here. So we're really excited about all that, and lots of good things in the works.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing you compete next year, and best of luck in your off season and everything. Thank you again for taking the time to do this. That's all the questions I have for you. So thanks again.